July is underway, and before we get into any of that fun stuff that everyone wants to see how July went for us, we're going to get into some moments, some highlights, and a guy that we're going to be trading away pretty soon. I can almost guarantee you that, Alex Cobb. He comes in against the Giants, has a complete game shutout going here in the top of the ninth, just really adding to that trade value potentially. We're lucky enough that not only do we have the guys and they're playing decently well that they can get moved off, but also they've been relatively healthy. That's obviously a big thing, is you can't trade a guy if he's injured. No one really would want him. So in this start, Cobb was fantastic. He's going to get Jung-Hoo Lee, who is 0 for 2 on the day, gets him to 2 strikes pretty quickly. Has one guy on. It's Matt Chapman, and he's going to bury the curveball in the dirt. Jung-Hoo Lee, is going to swing over the top of it, and Rockies pull out the win, and that that trade stock for Alex Cobb just keeps going up. And we talked about injuries. O'Neill was out for 1 to 2 weeks. Didn't really hurt him too much, so basically gets the All-Star break off a little bit earlier. Ezequiel Tovar having a much better season than last year. Last year, we were thinking about extending him long-term. He had an abysmal season, ended up getting benched halfway through, basically. And in this game, he takes a hitting streak to 15 games against the Mets. Those sneaky Metropolitans. As, again, he's been hitting over about 280 for the season, has been doing very, very good. He's going to bring this hitting streak into that next game. Strikes out there against Jose Buto. And now we'll have to, in the top of the ninth, not only try to keep that hit streak alive, but add some insurance to the Rockies. So Tovar, has he played himself back into our long-term plans? I'm not sure he played himself out of it necessarily, but he definitely didn't have the best of showings, and definitely made me question. Obviously, Adael Amador is going to be here for a long time, but is Tovar going to be here for a long time? Unfortunately, the hitting streak ends right there, as the Mets are going to lose to the Rockies as we take that one. One representative for us in the futures game, and it's Christian Nam. And he's going to get a base knock here on a 2-1 count. Shortstop's going to dive and can't come up with it. I believe that's Russell Branyan, the guy that the Astros drafted pretty surprisingly. And didn't think that it was going to be Christian Nam going to get the nod. You had a couple guys, Gehringer. Obviously, who am I forgetting all those pitchers, but I guess they just weren't selected, or their pitching schedules were off, because obviously you got to have them for their season, so they didn't want to come here, whatever the reason be. But Christian Nam, who's been working in single A, gets the 1 for 2 day strikeout and a base hit.
Well, draft is tomorrow night, of this time around tomorrow night, outside enjoying some nature, a lot more cool, calm, and collected than I was last year, that's for sure. It gets to you. Your first year, you have these doubts. You have a lot of people's lives on the line, their livelihoods on the line, their jobs on the line. You don't make these picks, you don't last. And not only is it my ass, it's everyone else's ass. So I'm glad it worked out. Bobby and J.J. Rose and Alex Hardesty and all the guys we drafted last year are looking great, looking good, doing the darn thing, and we're very excited. Our plan for number 2, I think it's going to be pitcher again, but we have a little bit more of a mix than last year. Alexi Escobedo, number 3 on MLB Pipeline, our number 1 guy. I want him. I think he's an ace potential guy. Between him and the other 3 we drafted last year, if you can get 2 of those guys to hit, you're living large. You're living pretty. You're sitting pretty. It's going to be really good for our rotation moving forward. You have some young guys. We can probably hopefully hammer out some long-term deals that benefit both sides. So that's where we're looking. Bud Leonard, he's been doing good. He's an older guy. We loved what we saw from him at Washington State. We think that he is definitely can be safer, but the potential to reach that upper echelon of pitchers, we think obviously he's in play for 2. We would definitely take him 2 if I had to have a choice. It would be Escobedo. If Escobedo goes to the Giants, which I don't want, because A, we don't get our guy, and B, we have to face him in our division all the time, then it's definitely going to be Leonard. On the other side of the coin, we have 2 first basemen we're looking at. Louis Harrington is a guy who has a stick, and he can hit it And then Tommy Domine, another guy who is a little bit more contact oriented, or definitely can mash lefties as a right-handed hitter, and then has that fielding. So I don't think he's going to be just a DH for us. You definitely can play first base, maybe even tomorrow. And just at 18 years old, we really like what we see out of his glove, but we're looking at first base for the hitting potential. I think he can really, really play against lefties, against righties, who knows. So at worst, he can be a platoon guy, but you don't want that at 4 or 2, so it'll be interesting what we decide. I think it's between the two pitchers. We have some good pitching depth down the board yet again. Again, we prioritize pitching. You get those guys, and you can do whatever you want with them. Again, not everyone's going to hit. Even if you get a guy who you really like, they might not play the way you want them to. You can use those guys as bait, as things to move and get good pieces you need. So I'm very excited. I'm very interested to see what this draft has for us, and I can't wait to usher in a new era of the Colorado Rockies.
All right, everyone, it is time for the second draft we've done. The 2025 draft is approaching us. Let's just kind of go over our plans. Again, like we kind of said in the part that's probably going to be shown before this, that I did last night. It's between Bud Leonard and Alexi Escobedo. I think we prefer Escobedo. I think his strikeout potential is just so enormous, and that is what's going to play. I think out of the box is going to be very good, and I think that he's going to be able to grow from Panama. That's where we're going to go. If he goes to the Giants right now, he is ranked 3rd by MLB. 1st by us in our department. We love what we get from Escobedo, and if it's not him, it's going to be Bud Leonard. A little bit older, but played in college for 4 years. Was incredible. And then obviously we said we have a couple of position players in play now. So we're going to be showing the board kind of how it looks. If there's a prospect that intrigues you want to learn a little bit more of, definitely feel free to kind of pause and see what they got. But I think right now, really the plan is at 2, it's going to be between those two pitchers. I think there are a couple of guys, Evan Russo, Louis Harrington, and Tommy Domine, that we could potentially pick. But I think a couple of those guys we're hoping slide to us down in the 30s when we pick again in round 2. We do have a little bit more position players. Obviously, that was a focus for us this year, with last year being the way it kind of fell. We do still have pitchers down the board. I would not hate getting pitchers. I think that at worst case scenario, you stockpile those assets. Pitching is the most important asset in major leagues. If we have a surplus of it, A, that helps our team, and B, it could help us by using those guys to sell off and get players of positions of need later down in the future when it's really time to go competing. So at the worst, we have more shots at that dartboard trying to find a true ace. At least we have a chance to take those guys and supplement them if they're hitting, or if maybe we think they may not hit. Use those guys to get some position players or some even pitchers down the road when it gets to it. So San Francisco is going to be number 1 on the clock, and then it's going to be us, and it's going to be Detroit, and then we're kind of going to see how this first round really plays out. But I'm excited, and I think we have a very, very solid plan for how tonight is going to go, and I can't wait to kind of see how it unfolds. Number 1, going to be Alexi Escobedo. Escobedo, again, we think is going to be an ace, and it sucks that he's going to San Francisco, but I think that means I know who we're picking at number 2. Really, between the 3 guys, it's going to be between Bud Leonard, it's going to be between Tommy Domine, it's going to be between Evan Russo. I think we have highlighted those 3 as the guys we would like to select, and I'm going to go make this call. And the pick will be Bud Leonard. Again, you can't have too much pitching. We like the 3 guys we got from the draft last year, and we're going to add to that. Bud Leonard is a guy that maybe has that potential to be that number one out of all of these guys, we think. And he's going to be a very, very, very good player. And I'm very excited to get to know this guy and negotiate his contract and make him a Colorado Rocky for the next few years. Now we're going to see how the rest of this first round plays out. Barney Tashner is going to go to Detroit, number 3, the consensus number 1 guy. We weren't too high on him, but he's going to go to Detroit. Again, pedigree out the wazoo, UConn, a good team. At worst, Barney's going to be a solid major league player. Chicago, they pick number 4. They go with Juan Santo, a guy on our list. But we're not going to be able to pick him later in the draft. We enjoyed him, but a little bit lower on him than everybody else. Louis Harrington, the first real guy that we were considering with 2. He is going to go to the Marlins here at 5. The Athletics, they pick next. They select again, Harrington, a guy that we were looking at. Gildehouse goes to the A's. Chavez, another guy we had our eye on. He goes to Washington, and the Blue Jays get up Eddie Dorda, a guy we weren't really looking too much into. Bill Carrillo, another guy we were not really looking at. He goes pick number 9. Boston, they're on the clock. They get Eugene Hillman, another player we weren't really looking at. So a couple guys we were looking at, a couple guys we weren't. So the board's playing very nicely for us. D'Angelo Rudolph, the guy we put some measure into. He's going to go 11. We did not think he was worth that. So Cleveland trying to see what they got with him. Derek Brasheen, a guy that we located and said, all right, I don't think he was as good as his draft rank had him at. We kind of gave up halfway through. Didn't think that, he would fall to us. Pablo Cortez, another guy we kind of gave a look at, but didn't really give too much attention to. James Nishi, a guy that we did not select or have to scout. We did not elect to scout, the word I'm looking for, too deeply. Jack Barger, another starter going to Kansas City. End of this first half, or end of the second half of this first round. The Mets get a guy that we were not too highly in play for. Next up, the Cardinals going to go Omar Ojedo. Another guy we just weren't really looking at. So far, the board's been playing very, very well. Evan Russo, a guy we were looking at, and we had him all the way up in the top 5 of our rankings, but ended up going to the Yankees here at 18. So in our judgment, they got a steal, which sucks. Still hate the Yankees. Can't stand those guys. Chance Bullock, a guy we had on our board, goes to Cincinnati. And here's a lot of these guys that we had. Robert Harnett going to Tampa Bay. We love his power potential behind the dish, and we just need those other plate skills to add up. Lewis Pittman, another guy that we had on our board. And he goes to Atlanta. Winston Estrada to Seattle. Weren't really too heavily looking into him, so I think it's really much back to a bunch of pitchers on our board again. So it's hard to get those position players down the board. We have Tommy Domine, the last guy up. Hopefully he falls to us. Andres Sandoval, another guy we had on our board. We could use him behind the dish. We're looking at him with maybe the second, third pick, and there's Domine. We liked him. So did the Astros. And the Astros, the rich just keep getting richer, man, as they are going to get a pretty good player, I think, in Domine. Still looking, it's kind of shaping up much the same with pitchers being left on our board. Stephen Arabu, as you see right here, we have Terrence Mathis, really the only true position player left for us to take, but we do have plenty of good pitchers to choose from. Again, I'm not going to complain about stockpiling that position, and nor should anybody, truthfully. Edgar Ramirez, the last pick of the first round, and one compensation pick, Terrence Mathis, the guy we were heavily looking at. Tampa Bay gets back-to-back picks. First round coming to a close. Again, we're only doing the first round here tonight, and we'll have the analysis of the next few picks. It's more just hoping that our guys don't go off the board at this point and checking to see who's going to be available for us to go after with our next selections. Lester Piper, the guy we were looking at. We're going to end the day with Bud Leonard. I'm very excited for that. I think his floor is very high. His ceiling is also very high. Kind of a can't-miss guy. And Escobedo, we had those same intentions with. And I think Leonard had the higher floor, where I think Escobedo, with his strikeout potential and keeping the ball in the ballpark, Kevin Wells, the guy we were looking at as well, goes off here to Cincinnati. He's going to be a good player. And we're very excited to add him to Bobby, add him to JJ, add him to Alex. Let these guys go. So let's just kind of be excited for what day 2 of the draft holds. Is Bud Leonard.
The rest of the draft went as follows. Alexis Marin, who no one really had on their radar. Rafael Parra, we are going to draft at 72. Omar Almanzar at 76. With our third pick, Leland Metzger is going to patrol the outfield. Willie Shashin and Mohammed Collier. Overall, I really like the draft. Here's who we signed and what we gave them for bonus draft. Getting Bud Leonard, I think, was good. I like him, obviously, clearly. And while it wasn't Escobedo, I don't think he's going to really matter much. I think after talking to scouts and really talking with them some more, we really like what Bud Leonard has to offer. It took a couple times to get Rafael Parra to sign with us, but we really love his upside. I think he was an under-radar guy for a lot of people, and we scooped him up. And we signed everybody but one. As no Calvert for us, as he will go to college. Just another extra look after what kind of more scouting, and finally this is what these guys are going to be looking like. We're extremely excited with all 3 of our pitchers that we got, and I think that everybody else on the board past our first 3 picks can, at the minimum, be some decent players for us. Obviously, some guys have some skill sets that can translate, and so on and so forth. Overall, just for the draft, is we're going to be showing some guys that went to other teams that we had on our board. Escobedo going, I think, looking at it, probably Bud Leonard might be the better player. Guys like Evan Russo were in the mix. Guys like Tommy Domine were in the mix. Guys like Harrington were in the mix. But I think getting Bud Leonard is going to be very good for us. I think that overall, while I was kind of looking away from pitching if I could, just because of how pitching-centric the draft was for us last year and how much pitching we could have got in the draft later on in the rounds. I wasn't really thinking, I guess, clearly, but Bud Leonard's going to be a stud. I think all of our projections, all the tape just shows that at minimum he is going to be a 3 or a good 2. At maximum, he's going to be one of the best pitchers in the league, we think, if he can just keep it together. And I'm super excited. I mean, we got sniped a couple of times, but I think overall, really the focus for our drafts is hit your first one. Hit your first 2 or 3 picks. If you can do that, you're going to be good year in, year out. I think we did that yet again. I think the first 2 drafts for us have been extremely great, and that's the building blocks for this franchise moving forward. After the draft, we head right into the All-Star break, and here's a quick look at our starters and our All-Star representatives for both leagues. We only had one representative, and that is first baseman Josh Bell. We're a bad team with not too many great players, and unfortunately, the position that Nolan Jones plays now at third base, stacked position. You have Bohm, you have Urias, you have Austin Riley. It's going to be hard to get him in, and they're going to try to fit in whoever can, and Josh Bell is going to get the nod for us. For the American League,
Garrett Whitlock gets in there, which is awesome. As a former Red Sox fan, I guess, I like to see Garrett Whitlock in there. Liam Hendricks coming back from cancer and beating the hell out of that, which is awesome to see. He gets in there. Tyler Soderstrom, real deal Holyfield, I love him. And Josh Bell was our one representative, and actually, very interestingly, he had himself a decent game. A very odd game, but we won't get into that until we see the home run derby here in Atlanta. You have Bohm, Judge, and the rest. Gunnar Henderson, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Yordan Alvarez, and it was that Acuna. So a couple of hometown guys, 3 Braves here in Atlanta. And let's move on to round 2. Only one of them survives. Matt Olson can take on Aaron Judge. Mike Trout and Yordan Alvarez move on to round 2. Round 3 is going to see the hometown kid get knocked off. It's Trout and Judge, probably two of the best players in the game. You could make the argument 1 and 1A, 1B, and Mike Trout, a lot of people's 1A for the last 15 years. He's going to walk away a home run derby champion. Like we said, Josh Bell had himself an interesting afternoon here for the National League. He came in the 7th inning and had to face Yohan Duran and got out of that at bat pretty quick. He flies out to left field, and 1 pitch, 1 out against Josh Bell. Next time up, bottom 9 with 2 outs, trying to keep the National League from losing to the American League for the 345th time in the last 10 years. He gets plunked, so he wears one, and he gets on base. The American League does end up winning. Next up on the agenda for July, the trade deadline. Here's who the players are. The American League East is extremely tight. 4 teams with 50 wins. The Red Sox lead that. The Twins are going to be players, and everyone else is kind of already looking forward to next year. American League West, I don't think anyone's catching the Astros for the crown, but the Rangers and the Mariners are both right there for the wild card. Heading over to the National League now, the National League East. Finally, we get to the National League East. The Phillies dominating, but the Marlins right behind there. The Braves not having the fantastic of seasons that we think they should. And the Central, the Pirates, and the Cubs, and the Cardinals, and the Reds really are all in play. Only 5.5 games separates everybody. We're in the basement. Dodgers up top. Diamondbacks, Giants would have the wild cards that ended today. Now the trades that we made. First trade that we made, we sent Alex Cobb packing. He's going to New York Yankees, and we're receiving Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith, a 28-year-old third baseman, can play shortstop and second place as well. So all around the infield, I'm sure if we gave him a first baseman's mitt, he wouldn't do too bad there. Really his claim to fame, a good fielder, and he can hit lefties. I think he's going to be a depth option for us as we have some guys coming up but aren't quite ready yet. This is a guy that we can have on our team for a little bit and get some value out of. Alex Cobb going to go to the Yankees, trying to push. Again, that American League East is really up for grabs. You have 4 teams vying. This is a trade that doesn't gut them of good prospects, but can get them a good return and some good results as they chase a pennant. We had with the Mariners, Josh Bell and Matt Cook are going to Seattle, who are trying to shore up a wild card. And we're going to get Fernando Benitez and Kevin Rosario. Benitez is a guy that we were eyeing in year 1 draft, and with all the starting pitching help and depth and talent that the Mariners have, they were okay of giving away their 7th ranked prospect to shore up the bullpen and get some help there at first base. Kevin Rosario, he does a good job at not allowing walks, and that's something we value here in our organization. 28 years old, however, I think at the best he's going to be organizational depth, but a guy that can fill in some starts, fill in some rotation innings here as everybody develops, and we don't have to force anybody to get shelled, and we can have Rosario kind of be that bridge for them. So Benitez is the big pull here, and giving them Josh Bell and Matt Cook felt fair, and the Mariners agree. See another big trade in this one. Rockies fans probably going to hurt a little bit. Brendan Rodgers no longer on the team. He is going back south. LSU product is going to go to Miami, Florida. We are getting Osiris Johnson and Reclamation Project Sixto Sanchez in the deal. The Marlins also picking up Joe Kelly. They needed some help in the middle infield, and Brennan Rodgers probably actually going to play shortstop for them. He was hitting just like he was last year, an OPS above 700, batting average, which was good. They need some spark. They're also vying for a wild card spot. We get Sixto Sanchez, another starting pitcher to add to our arsenal, a guy who needs a fresh start, and I think that could be in Colorado. This is a win-win. If he is something, then we haven't tapped him. We can use him. If he's nothing, then we also have Osiris Johnson, who can play multiple positions, and a guy who can definitely vie for a bench spot. And you can't have too many relievers. So Joe Kelly goes in the deal to kind of sweeten up as well. And the final trade, and a decent one here. Tyler O'Neill going to the Birds, helped in their corner outfield spot, as some of their young prospects aren't just quite ready yet. This would be a good bridge year to kind of, again, that American League East, very, very competitive. We're going to get Max Wagner, third baseman, blocked behind Gunnar Henderson and Kobe Mayo. Definitely a guy that they're willing to part ways with, and we get some more infield organizational depth and a guy that can potentially be playing for some spots. And O'Neill goes and helps the Orioles also try to get to the World Series. All the busy stuff in July is coming to a close, but let's take a look at one of our guys we got in trade. Sixto Sanchez making his Rockies debut. Has been in the bullpen mostly for the Marlins. He's going to go right into the rotation. And if you enjoy Coors Light, this guy's a Coors heavy. Sanchez, a screaming fastball sinker combination, a changeup that is one of his best pitches as well, and he's facing off against the Orioles, a team we made a trade with, and Tyler O'Neill making his way back to Colorado, not too far away from when he was shipped off. Things we're looking for in Sixto, get that command. I think he has electric stuff. If he can command it a little bit better, I think that's really what's been his issue. Is everything he throws, he has no clue where it's going. And he also has the ability not only that he doesn't hit his spots, and that has pitches being left up, pitches that are catching too much of the plate, and pitches that are juicy enough for hitters to crush. This one's crushed by Ryan Mountcastle. Back is Doyle, and he will be at the warning track to make the catch. An error by Adele Amador gives the Orioles one run, but so far Sixto doing all right, giving up a base runner or two here and there. Kobe Mayo stings it to Doyle, and Doyle is there in center field to make the catch. Next up, Heston Kjerstad, a guy that's kind of been blocked, and especially with O'Neill entering the mix, how many minutes is how many innings is Kjerstad, how many at-bats is Kjerstad going to get? Sixto with a injury scare there, but this big fellow looks fine to me. Look at him. Imagine if this guy was a linebacker. This is what you see coming through the hole. You better get out of the way. Chugga, 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 chugga. Big man alert. What an absolute salve. Our big sexy here in Colorado. Probably the most important thing on my list, my agenda since becoming a Rocky, is get a big sexy. And we might have it here in Sixto Sanchez. Throws gas and gives up a big hit to Adley Rutschman. But so did all the best pitchers, so knock it off. No sweat about it. So Adley on second base is Sixto's going to run into a little bit of trouble here trying to get Gunnar Henderson out, and almost takes his block off, as scoring is going to be Adley Rutschman, and the young Orioles are coming to play here. Holiday is up. Gunnar Henderson, the Rookie of the Year, and here's Holiday, as I just mentioned, flies out to Doyle. Kjerstad is up. Kobe Mayo is up. You have so many guys who are up and ready to go. Samuel Basallo is up as well, and Austin Hayes was up. Now he's going back to the bench because he just hit a round tripper, absolutely smashed that into the seats there. And Austin Hayes, his 13th of the year, makes it 4-0. Ryan Mountcastle back to 6-0, and he is going to lollipop it over to Michael Toglia playing first base now that Josh Bell is gone. And this is going to open up some playing time for Toglia to really find out, is he the one? Is he not the one? Is he someone we should be continuing to try to develop? And that'll be the day for Sixto. He went 4 innings, didn't have the most fantastic of days, but a decent starting debut. He will get the loss, however. Another debut to look forward to, Joe Rock, with Alex Cobb also getting shipped out of town. We had some need in the bullpen, or the rotation, and the lefty Joe Rock is going to get the nod here. A guy that was in our top prospects list, a top 10 guy for us, and he had himself a prospect report video earlier on in the season, and a guy that we went over there, and now he's making his big league debut against a pretty formidable lineup in the San Diego Padres. Does go 1-2-3 in his first outing. However, Patrick Wisdom back up the middle will be the first base runner that Joe Rock gives up. A guy who can throw in the mid-90s, lefty, which always helps, but back-to-back sharp base hits right back up the middle, almost taking both of his kneecaps off. Tough look for Joe Rock. Now with some runners on, with no outs here in the second inning, trying to get out of this little jam, Luis Campusano is going to make it the third straight hit, this one for extra bases, and this one will clear him as the speedy Fernando Tatis Jr. is trailing Patrick Wisdom, and both of those guys will score. So a clean first inning, 1-2-3 for Rock, and then a rocky, pun intended, second inning with the first 3 batters are going to reach, make it the first 4 as some more trouble at second base. Dale Amador trying to get used to second base now as the full-time guy. And Jackson Merrill is going to be the first career strikeout for Joe Rock, so congratulations to Joe and his family. But also you got to kind of keep all this with a grain of salt, because this is the first time that this iteration of this Rockies team is playing together and playing in the positions that they play in and all that jazz. Ethan Salas goes sky high to center field. Doyle's under it. Coming across to try to score is the runner, and he's gunned down. That's why we have Brenton Doyle out there. He definitely isn't going to do much with the stick, but his arm, his glove, his legs is why he is on this roster, playing every single day. Helps Joe Rock out there and keeps the damage to just 2 runs. Ha-Sung Kim grounds out to Amador, who's trying to figure it out. Xander Bogaerts, my sweet baby boy, going to strike out against Joe Rock, and that's a pretty nice guy to say you've struck out in the league, Xander Bogaerts. Guy who doesn't strike out too often, puts the ball in play a whole lot, and Manny Machado sawed off there, and 1-2-3 goes the top of the lineup yet again. So if the first 3 batters of the Padres just kept batting over and over and over again, Joe Rock would have had a pretty rock-solid debut. Gets Tatis Jr. swinging, so another pretty good trophy to the trophy case, saying you can strike out one of the best hitters in the game. Campusano, a guy he just can't figure out. Going to first, third is Wisdom again. He'll get in there. Runners on the corner, top 4, 1 out. Luis Matos, the former Giant, is going to take the walk there as he made his way over to San Diego from San Francisco. Bases loaded for Jackson Merrill, a strikeout victim his first time, and he'll get revenge up the middle. 1 run will score, and Campusano learned from last time he will not test the arm of Brenton Doyle. Ethan Salas, the wonder kid, is going to check his swing, but going, says the home plate umpire, and Joe Rock 1 out away from getting out of this inning, and he won't. Smacked by Ha-Sung Kim, and this could be the day. Joe Rock not happy as to 3 2/3. He gives up 5, gives up 6. And I think this will be it for our star rookie, or want to be star rookie. It's still a lot to learn here in the major leagues. Skip will come out and get him, and that will be it. The Padres hold on to win, and Joe Rock rocked in his Rockies debut. Drink every time I said rock. Final trade, Michael King going from the Padres to the Red Sox, as Marcelo Meyer and Jack Leiter head to Boston. But here is a look of our roster at the end of July. It was a tumultuous July, adding some players for the future, but sending away some players of the now, and this is what we're going to be rocking with for the rest of the season. Amador at second base, Tovar at shortstop. That's going to be our middle infield. Beck and Veen are going to be playing in the corner outfields. Anquil Fernandez still getting DH opportunities, with Tolia playing first. And again, this is a young team, as a lot of these players did not start off season 1 with us, but they're going to be finishing off season 2. And in the month, here's what we looked like: is Dollander still having a decent season, Senzatella doing really well, and Joe Rock, Chris Bubik, and Sixto Sanchez going to continue to get starts to try to just figure themselves out. And Matt Moore did not go in the trade deadline, and this is what we have for pitching. Herman Marquez is going to be our closer, because I don't know what else to do with him. That will do it here from the month of July. We're on to August, September, and the end of the season upcoming pretty soon. We appreciate you tuning in.